blessed performance. Come into your presence, speak to us and speak to our hearts. By the anointing of thy Spirit, as we share in your word, the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be acceptable in thy sight, O Lord, my strength and my redeemer. Amen. Amen. Let us conclude today. We've been talking about 7 deadly sins. We're going to conclude our discussion with the 7th, the last one that we have not mentioned, which is greed. Greed. Or in other words, what we might want to call affluenza. Benefit affluenza. Because sometimes it is a sickness. Sometimes it can be a sickness. In the text that we read earlier, in Luke 12, which will set the stage, it is a parable. A parable of a certain rich man who earned and gained a lot of money, possessions, material wealth. Said to himself, I got so much, where would I put it all? So he pulled down his barns and he built bigger ones. And he said, I have much, and my soul has much good laid up for many years. I can sit back, eat, drink, and be merry. God said unto him, Thou fool, this night thy soul shall be required of thee. Then shall those things whose shall those things be which thou hast provided. So is he that layeth up treasures for himself, and is not rich toward God. Sometimes in life, when life is seemingly going its best, we show our foolishness. While God is yet perfect and wise, we sometimes become foolish. And let me say this before we get too far into this thing about greed, because it may give you the sense of thinking that having money is a sin. Having a lot of stuff is a sin. It's not always a sin. We can make it a sin. Sometimes when God blesses us, we take what God has blessed us with and we misuse it. We use it in ways in which it was not intended to be used. We invent things for our own convenience. We take what God gives us and sometimes abuse it. Affluenza is a disease. It's not the money, it's the love of money, which is the root cause for all evil. And if you could sum up all of the evil in the world and the unjust things that happen in our society, the root cause is our own selfishness. It's our own selfishness, our poverty issues, a greed problem. Because we're selfish and we're concerned about the bottom line. Well, let's look at this greed thing from a standpoint of those 5 principles. Greed poisons with greed. How can greed poison with greed? Well, let me explain. Greed makes us more greedy. You heard that Lay's potato chip commercial? No one can eat just one. After you get that first taste of it, you've got to have more. And you've got to have more and more and more. Greed is the inordinate desire to possess wealth, goods, or objects of abstract value with the intention of keeping it for one's self, far beyond the dictates of basic survival and comfort. Now, we talked about this a little bit when we talked about gluttony. Gluttony is a desire to keep on getting, eating, having. But a gluttonous person will share. That's the difference. A greedy person wants it all for themselves.
Right.
When 2 people are in bed, and you feel like you got to have all of the cup. Your body can only hold so much cup, but you got to have it all. Some people get a birthday cake for their birthday. They don't want anyone else to have a piece of their cake. It's my cake. Somebody else made it for me. It's mine. And you all can't have any. Get your own cake. Greed is the desire to have and the intentions to keep it for oneself. It is markedly a high desire for the pursuit of wealth, power, status, prestige. As a secular psychological concept, greed is similarly an inordinate desire to acquire or possess more than one needs. It is typically used to criticize those who seek excessive material wealth, although it may apply to the need to feel more, excessively more social or better than someone else. Greed tends to want to make us feel above the norm. Not only do I want to be good, I want to look good.
All right.
I don't just want to drive around in a simple car. It's got to be top of the line. I'm not sure if that's Lexus now. They keep making more and more expensive and fancy cars. I'm not really sure which one is the most prestigious anymore. Then, not only do we just want that nice car, this is how greed affects us, because we got that nice car.
Well,
now we got to keep that nice car looking clean. Which means you got to wash that car practically every time you drive it out of the driveway. Because you take it out of the driveway, you liable to get a splash of mud on it or something. Somebody might splash mud on your nice car, another car might pick up something and dirt will fall on it, or a pigeon might decide it might want to fly over your car, and we go to the mall, and instead of parking our car in the spot, we go to an open area and we'll take 2 spots and park diagonally. Taking up 2 spots because we don't want the cars next to us to be close enough to open their doors and hit our nice, fresh car. It spin around and dazzle the eye. Your affluence, it poisons us in the way we think. I just don't want minimum wage. I have to work for at least $100,000 an hour in a nice cushion job where I can sit down and do absolutely nothing. But greed does not only poison us with greed, but it controls us with drivenness. Look at the progression that takes place in our text. The man had wealth. In verse 16, he told them this parable. The ground of a certain rich man yielded an abundance of harvest, and he thought to himself, what shall I do? I have no place to store my crops. This excess led the man and directed his will. He said, this is what I'll do. I will tear down my barns and I'll build bigger ones. And there will I store my surplus of grain. I will pull down my barns. I will pull and build bigger ones. I will store my produce. And I will say to my soul, eat, drink, and be merry. It controls us. Money drives us. Once we get a taste of it, we're no longer satisfied. Now I'm driven. Those who work in corporate areas of life will work longer hours. The longer I work, the more I get. I will cut back. I will do everything I can to maximize my income. Some people stay on their cell phones or their gadgets, talking to their broker, watching the stock market go up and down, buying and selling and trading so that their portfolio will be much bigger every day that they live. They are driven, they are compelled by the desire to get more and more. It's not good enough. I got to have a comfortable nest egg for my retirement. So that when I retire, I can kick back. And when we get into those positions of affluence and power, the control and the drivenness of being in power, and this doesn't just apply to just money. 9 times I tell you, when we get into those affluent positions, we forget where we come from sometimes, and we're driven to maintain our status of affluence and power. Because greed and power and status does that to us. We're not going to share very much, but we are going to gain an abstraction from the classism that we have now placed ourselves in. Proverbs 1 says the prosperity of fools shall be destroyed and shall destroy themselves. Man's wealth will be your downfall. It won't necessarily be the downfall of anybody else. Your own wealth will be your own downfall. God said unto him, woe be unto this fool. Woe is the subtlety of death, the woe of losing it all, the woe of divine judgment. This day your soul shall be required of you. Now, who's going to get your money now? After all you did to possess it, to obtain it, to keep it, to manipulate it, who's going to get it now? Because you're not going to be able to spend it. But yet, there's another aspect I've seen, because sometimes when you get rich, you want to take your money with you to the grave. This doesn't necessarily mean you're trying to take your money with you. I've seen people buried in Cadillacs.
Mm.